Okay, well, in my last video on meal planning, I proposed kind of a whole brain shift on how we approach groceries and how much inventory we want to keep in our kitchen. And I know there's a lot more questions around that, like how much do we spend on groceries? Where do we grocery shop? How do I feel about coupons or services where you can order your groceries online and pick them up? Let's talk about all of those questions as well as a few tips that I have for you to succeed with meal planning coming up next. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from theminimalmom.com, and like I said, this video is coming after the meal planning video. So if you haven't had a chance to check that one out, you might want to skip back and view that one and then come back here again, or not. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. But let's talk a little bit more about meal planning. I know it's one of those things where it's hard to make blanket statements about budgets or stores or coupons or anything like that because we all live in different areas of the world. And so my hope is that you realize I'm not endorsing any stores. This is not sponsored. I'm simply sharing what works for our family and hoping that you can take bits and pieces of it and apply it to your meal planning process as well. So like I said, I do have a link to this inventory I created down below. But otherwise, let's just get started talking about some of these questions. So I'm going to start with how much we spend on groceries and where we do the bulk of our grocery shopping, because that's actually going to lead into some of the other questions as well. So kind of conventional wisdom and that a lot of budgeters will talk about would be to plan $100 per person per month for consumables. So things like groceries, toilet paper, laundry detergent, shampoo, all of those things. Now, with that being said, if you're adding up the number of people in your house times 100, the average American household spends about double that per month. And so obviously it might be different what other part of the world you're joining us from. For many Americans, then to scale that back, basically cutting it in half, can be a little bit daunting. So my advice to you would be, don't necessarily try to rein it all back in the first month that you're trying this meal planning and budgeting system, but certainly over time, I think you will find that if you meal plan consistently, it's going to become very easy to stay within your budget. I almost never spend the full amount anymore. Granted, we have 6 people in our house and our kids are younger, so it can be a little bit easier, but truly by sticking to meal planning, I think you'll find that it's very easy to stick within this grocery budget. Okay, so where we do our grocery shopping. Again, this isn't sponsored. I'm just telling you what works best for our family. So the grocery stores that are closest to us that I like the most are Aldi and Walmart. So I have no allegiance to these companies. Other than that, it's the least expensive place for us to buy groceries in our area. So what I really like about Aldi is that the stores are smaller and there's just limited options. There is one kind of sour cream. And I know there's some misconceptions about what Aldi is. It's not really like a discount or overstock store. They have their own brands and just really limited selection. And for ourselves, where we find the most savings is with the produce and the canned goods. So for us, that is where I do about 90 to 95% of our grocery shopping, just because it is the least expensive and we really like all of the products. We find that most of them compete with name brands. In fact, Tom is very much a brand name person. I grew up on generic, so this is like not a big deal. For me, it's like my love language to buy discount groceries. Okay, so let's talk about coupons. I don't use coupons anymore because it was stressful to me. I am, like I said, we're in a busy season. I am trying to streamline grocery shopping and make it so that it's something that I don't dread doing and that doesn't feel like a big chore to me. And so I have done coupons in the past, especially when I first became a stay-at-home mom. I felt like it was something that I needed to do to be really responsible with our finances. But what I found was I ended up buying a lot of things that we didn't necessarily need, or I was always trying to form a meal around something that was on sale, and so that having to find different meals and recipes was stressful. And then a lot of times I'd have to buy another item that I wouldn't normally, and so we'd end up with these random things in our cupboard, and I just don't feel a need to do coupons anymore. But here's a tip: if that's against your DNA and how you're wired, that's okay. But if you get a store flyer in the mail, just look at the outside of it. That's where the best deals are going to be. So glance at the outside, front and back, and you'll know if there's a special you want to take advantage of, or a sale or a coupon. It'll be right there. They put the best stuff on the outside, the inside is filler. Okay, what about grocery services where you can order online and either pick them up or have them delivered? I am a huge fan of those. So we have some that I could use in our area, but again, I don't because it's cheaper for me to go to Aldi and buy the groceries. However, if things were to get extremely busy and I weren't able to do that, then I would definitely use one of those services. My sister uses it all the time and she loves it. She feels kind of similar to this where she doesn't overbuy anymore. She really just gets the things she needs for the meals she needs that week, and she's not impulse buying when she goes to the store. So even if some of them have a fee, either for collecting the groceries for you or for delivery, she feels like she easily makes that up every week by not grabbing extra things when she's at the store. Okay, so what things might I stock up on if they're on sale? Basically, the only thing I will stock up on is meat because that seems to be the biggest savings. So if I'm at a store and they have meat that freezes well on clearance or sale, I will try and grab extra, or sometimes we have the opportunity to buy meat in bulk and then I'll do that. But then again, it's really important that I write it on our marker board of things to use up because, I mean, I don't know if you're like me, but if I just put it in the freezer, it gets forgotten about. It gets down to the bottom and I never end up using it. So it's really important that if we are gonna stock up on things, that we have a system for managing that. So beyond that, canned goods or other items that, you know, they might have a long shelf life, I don't stock up on them because it just, again, it's more inventory that I have to manage, and I know myself, they get pushed to the back of the cupboards and I never use them again. So if I go to the store, I see something on sale that we use regularly, I might grab like a couple extra, maybe enough for the next week or two, but beyond that, I don't stock up. Okay, what about things like freezer meals? So I really wanted to love freezer meals. Like I thought like, yes, this could finally be the solution to our busy weeknights and when we have kind of an unpredictable schedule. I really wanted to like freezer meals, but I even hosted like a freezer meal group for a while, like where people would come to my house and we'd make freezer meals together, like super fun. But we never found recipes that we love. We've kind of tried to take pasta out of our diet because it triggers migraines for Tom. And so a lot of the recipes, you know, have those kinds of things in it, and they just, I don't know, having to pull them out ahead of time, or they have to take a really long time to cook in the oven if you don't. And it never worked out for me, which is fine. If you do freezer meals and it works for you, like awesome, keep doing it. Like that's awesome. But one thing I do is I'll cook up extra meat and freeze it. So it might be chicken or ground beef and I'll fry it up and I'll just put it in the freezer like that. So then it's really easy to grab out for tacos or chili or chicken tacos or something like that. So I am aware, especially if I find meat on sale, I try to not put it in the freezer just raw, uncooked. I try to cook it up and then put it in the freezer because that really saves a lot of time when I'm making meals, especially if we're in a hurry. Okay, so what about having extra food stored up for emergencies? Depending where you live, this is probably more important than some other areas. I've joked that if we had an emergency, I would just go to my parents' house because they live not very far away and they have enough food to, I don't know, Mom, what do you think? Like, you could probably feed 12 people for like 6 months, maybe between your freezers and your pantry. And I'm not making fun of her. It just is what it is. So that's kind of like our emergency stockpile. But in all seriousness, I know this is a reality for many of us. And so I think it's just important to have it stored somewhere else, whether it's in its own container in the garage or the basement. And then once a year, you just rotate the stuff out of it because it's probably going to expire soon. Okay, are there any apps that I use? I do not. Again, Aldi doesn't have an app. Most of the apps out there don't apply to that, so that's why. So if you do frequent a grocery store, then I know there are good apps out there, but I don't currently use any. But here's the other thing, you know, coupons and apps and different things like that that are supposed to help us save money. Here's the way I look at it. I have to keep meal planning simple or I will not do it. It doesn't matter how good my system is. I know myself. And when we get busy, if it is not easy, I'm not going to do it. And so I look at it like, to me, coupons and apps feel stressful. And so I would rather just stay consistent with cooking and buying the foods that we use week in and week out, knowing that one meal, like if I cook one extra meal at home because my process is simple and we don't eat out, that's gonna make up for any difference that I saved in clipping coupons or even using an app. Now, if you have apps that you use, you're proficient at them, they're easy, and you really like them, that's awesome. Like, keep using that for sure. But if you're trying to like start something new or look for new apps or different things like that, I would say really get this system down, or whatever system you decide to use, and then from there decide if it's beneficial to add it in. But don't try and change everything right now. I think that you'll find by doing this and by buying less groceries and keeping less inventory in your house, you're gonna be saving so much money anyways that you won't necessarily feel like you need coupons or apps to save more money. Okay, and then do you have a grocery shopping day? Now, selling real estate, our schedule is pretty unpredictable, so I usually arrange it around, a showing or a meeting or that kind of thing. And so we don't have a specific day, but I do go once a week. Okay, what about buying in bulk? And I think this usually references things like paper products or certainly some foods you can buy in bulk. For most things, I just buy enough for the week, but the things like napkins and toilet paper, those I'll buy a month supply. But I had a Costco membership, and I mean, there was a few things I really liked there, but again, I really like Aldi because I can park close and get through the store really quickly compared to the huge store at Costco. And I don't know how stores like that are in your area, but I'd have to park far away, and it was just always like really busy in there, and it would take a while to check out. And so again, I would rather pay a little bit more for toilet paper at Aldi and just have it right there than have to go to these stores again. But I think at the end of the day, I'm not really paying much more. So my sanity and my peace of mind is worth more to me than saving a little bit on toilet paper. But that's the spot we're in right now. And I do know that in the past, we didn't always have that luxury. But again, like cooking one extra meal at home a week, I feel like makes up for any money I would save at Costco. So it's always just weighing the pros and cons of it. So for us, we don't, but if it works for you and you don't mind those big stores, then that's great. Okay, so I think that's most of the questions that I've been getting about meal planning. So now I just want to talk about a few extra tips for success. So I try to keep an extra one of these in my car so that if I find myself waiting for the kids somewhere, or I know I'm just going to have an extra hour to kill, I can grab this. I can do my meal planning and grocery list in 5 minutes, even though, right, I can't like look in my cupboards or fridge to know exactly what we have. Because we keep so much less, I usually have a pretty good idea where we're at with things. So I can do my meal planning quick. I can make my grocery list. I can run through the grocery store and grab everything, and it's such a good use of time. So it's really been helpful just to keep an extra one or two of these in the car with me. Another thing is that once I have my meals selected for the week, I don't assign them to a day. So I don't say Monday tacos, Tuesday chicken chili. I just know that I have everything on hand to make all of these meals for the week. And I like it that way because our schedule can be kind of unpredictable. And especially if you have kids and activities or just different things, or your work schedule is unpredictable, I like it to be able to flex with our schedule. So if we're running late, I just need a quick meal, then I'll just grab one of those. Or if I'm like, oh, I have a little more time, or a meeting got canceled, then I'll do one of the longer ones. So that works well for us. If you're like, no, I need to know like which day, or if you have someone else who's gonna help you cook, so you want it assigned each day, then certainly, on your marker board, you could just, instead of putting this there, you could just write the days out and then write on what meal is for each day. But that's up to you, whatever works best for you. But this works really well for us. I mean, some days I'm just like, tacos, like, no, it's cold and rainy out, we need a soup today, So I do like having this flexibility. Okay, and then the biggest tip, honestly, is just, it's really this inventory thing, is just to realize that the less stuff that we have to manage, the more peace of mind we're gonna have, the more brain space we're gonna have. And I just think our house is gonna feel like a more peaceful place. Looking back, I just bought way too many groceries. And it's so funny, like, would you ever do this? Like, I'd come home from grocery shopping and I'm unloading, and the kids, they would like see like the strawberries or the grapes, and they're like wanting to eat it right away. And I'm like, no, don't eat all the like good food first, And then what would happen, like 5 days later, I'm going through the fridge and like the strawberries are going bad, and I'm like, why didn't I just let them eat them right away, So now I'm like, the kids know, like when I bring stuff home, like this is these are the groceries for the week. So if you want to eat all the strawberries now, that's fine, but you're gonna have to eat bananas and oranges like the rest of the week, you know? And so it's been just some mental shifts, but it's been really good. Okay, well, like I said, my intention is not for you to adopt my system exactly. It's just to get you thinking about just some different approaches to meal planning and what things you might change in your household. And so I truly hope this is helpful. Again, I'm gonna link to this list down below. If you find it helpful, you can fill it in for yourself. Like, it's a little daunting when you just look at it like this, but honestly, it probably took me about 10 to 15 minutes to fill in, and then I fine-tuned it over the next couple weeks. But now to have this, to be able to walk through the kitchen and just be like, do we need this? Do we need this? No, we got this. This is just been the biggest benefit to us. So again, a link below to that, along with the meal planning video if you haven't caught that. And I'll also link to those videos on simplifying your kitchen and a tour of our kitchen down below as well if you haven't seen those. Coming up next, we're gonna talk about paper clutter, because that's next to cooking. That's another. So I will link to that video down below. As always, the best compliment you can give us is a thumbs up. Sharing it with a friend is helpful too. You can also follow me on Instagram and be sure to subscribe so that we can keep in touch.